We are America's tackle shop. Anything fishing related, it's here at FishUSA.
Hey guys, Chad over Kayak Bass Fishing, and today we're going to talk about spy bait fishing, or fishing with spy baits, or yeah, spy baits. Look, I get a lot of subscriber questions, comments, and interactions talking about clear water fishing. Clear water fishing for me is one of those things that I primarily stack the odds in my favor by fishing clear water at night, right? And I understand that not everybody has that option, not everybody has that opportunity, and a lot of clear water fisheries are not open at night, you know, especially the further north you go, there's a lot of restrictions, a lot more so than there are where I live in the south. So I need to come up with techniques and tactics that are very deadly, okay, that are easy to use when it comes to clear water fishing. You know, some of the ones, finesse fishing, drop shots on light line, shaky head fishing, fishing trick worms on super light line, all of those things work. One of the things you have to keep in mind when clear water fishing is you have to be very mindful of your boat position. You have to be very mindful of sun angles and shadows, because it carries a lot further because you don't have any camouflage from, you know, the lack of water clarity. So they're gonna see you. So you have to be very careful about that. And so I was talking to Brandon offline about whether or not he had any experience with spy baiting, right? We're talking about that when he was down at Bienville, and he got a big, you know, kind of smirk on his face, for lack of a better way of putting it, and said, man, I haven't really that much, but I've been focusing on it, I've been studying about it, and I've been doing this, and it's an ultra finesse presentation. I'm like, wait, what? We're talking about something completely different. I'm talking about spy baits, these, you know, these 6-inch to 10-inch baits with the props on the front and back. And he's like, oh yeah, at FishUSA we've got the, you know, the really small ones, and you fish them on light spinning line. I'm like, hold up, what? Honestly, I didn't even know these little smaller 80 size finesse style spy baits existed. So we picked up a few, and then he's got hard water up here. I don't. So I've had the ability to go out, and I've tried these things on, when I say light line, you know, I'm generally talking anything less than 8 pounds. So I've been trying it on 6 and 8 pound line. And what's crazy about it is these things fall a little bit faster than that 1 foot per second, but it's video game fishing. Going up to bluff walls, throwing it out there, knowing where the fish are, backing off, letting it sink. And then the cool thing about it is depth control, okay? You get a little flash, you get a little vibration, you've got a minnow profile, you know, you've got that smaller profile. But for me, the big advantage of these things is depth control. You throw the bait out, it resists climbing. You know, you count it down to the depth that you want. You can't really long line it, because by the time you back up, you've lost, you know, it's sunk to the bottom and hung up. But I've really not mastered this thing yet, okay? I've only taken it out 2, maybe 3 times, but I've caught fish on it. And actually, let me just explain to you what I mean by that. So basic concept of spy bait fishing is there's a prop on the front and there's a prop on the back, and it makes the bait run really nice, really balanced. If you keep tension on the line, it falls, and there's a little bit of rotation as it falls. There's a little bit of flash, a little bit of vibration, but mostly it's about that bait staying level, you know? And so you have to play around with the line diameter, in my opinion, to accommodate that level fall. But what's crazy about it is when you start reeling it, okay, you can feel it through, you know, at least on my All Pro, I can feel it through the shaft of the rod, and it's just one of those ultra finesse, ultra slow, cold water, stays in the strike zone for a long time, clear water techniques that I'm looking forward to mastering. So before we go any further and I turn it over to Brandon, I want to do something that I don't normally do in the videos. I usually wait to the end, but I want you to comment now if you've got any experience with spy bait fishing, and give me some of your tips. This is an interactive video. This is where neither one of us are coming on here and trying to act like we're an expert, but what we are is excited about this technique. I'm excited about this technique in more ways than one. I think there's some other stuff that I'm gonna do with it. I'm actually looking forward to river fishing with it in shallower water and doing something that most people aren't thinking about it, so I can throw it up and reel it, and then when I let it sit in current, it's sitting there spinning, and I can raise my rod. And anyway, so, but for the purpose of this, I'm excited about this thing as a daytime, clear water, high sun, hard to get them to bite anything else, suspended fish in the middle of summer and suspended fish in the middle of the winter pattern. So Brandon, what is your experience so far, and what are your thoughts on the whole spy bait? I don't want to call it a craze, but I do think it's one of those deals where like fashion originates in New York and works its way down through the rest of the country, in LA, and works its way west. A lot of these things originate overseas, right? And it's my understanding that spy baiting really kind of originated in California, went out and got perfected and more popular in Japan, came back to California, and is kind of now working its way west. Y'all correct me if I'm wrong on that. That's my assessment of it. What's your understanding of it?
So actually these Duo Realis Spybait 80s or Spinbait 80s are actually the original Spybait.
Okay.
And they originated over on the West Coast. It definitely takes a lot of patience to fish this. And this isn't a search style bait, so it's not something that the fish are gonna come from a distance for. But when you have suspended fish and there's suspended bait fish in an area that fish are
That's a good point.
up.
This isn't a fine fish bait.
Yep.
This is a know you have fish, get fish to bite bait,
Yep.
right? Can you grab the pack real quick and let's let those guys see exactly. So what he's saying is this Duo International, Duo Realis, and basically they're known for making really good, really nice swim baits, all right? And then, so with this spy bait concept and this 80 size, it's really, the name of the lure is spy baiting, right? And so there's directions on the back of the package that basically says the Realis Spinbait 80 was developed specifically for finesse fishing technique of spy baiting. Its compact yet heavy body harbors a fixed ballast system made to increase trajectory, improve target orientation, and provide a heavy roll action. The passive body rotation emulates a natural bait fish flashing and descending, and the shimmer effect occurs when the lure is allowed to fall. In addition, the pulsing vibration generated by specifically designed dual propellers, Realis Spinbait 80 is perfect for targeting suspended fish. So it's a suspended fish technique, okay? And so a lot of times when people can't catch fish on clear water, it's because the fish are suspended. And by and large, what I see happen a lot, and it happens to me, is I'm paddling along, I'm looking for fish, they're not where I expect them to be, and then by the time I see them on the graph, I'm like, oh, I'm over the top of them, I end up seeing the fish, and then they scatter. So here's what you do when that happens. Don't fish for them then, mark them. Give them 2 hours, go fish somewhere else, pull your Navionics app out, open up your depth finder on your Lowrance or whatever unit that you have, and start looking on your charts for something similar to that, and then go to that area, and before you get to it, make a long cast to the depth that you found the fish before, and make a presentation with a spy bait. Then, after you've had some time to let those fish reset, hour and a half, 2 hours, go back and stay way off. And again, part of the concept of this is you've got a really small bait fish profile that's heavy. These things are really heavy.
Yeah.
You throw it on, ultralight line, 4, 6, 8 pound is starting to get heavy, and that's the thing. Coming from the South, we're big on flipping and pitching and using heavy line, and crappie fishermen will use lighter line than 6 pound or 8 pound. But for the most part, if you get into 8 pound, you're too heavy, 6 pound for me is perfect, but I think even if you drop down into that 4 pound range, you would get a little bit better descent. You would have a little bit better control. What I like about the 6 pound, and especially when you're using a really premium fluorocarbon like the FC Sniper, is the fluorocarbon itself sinks. And that fluorocarbon line is going to sink with the bait. And then what will end up happening is when you first start reeling it, it starts to take that belly out of the line, and you get a nice controlled descent. I have a 3/5 rule. You've got to figure out how deep the fish are, and you've got to cast it about 3/5 past where they are. You can play the game of a little more than half, if you want to call it that. To get it to 10 feet, you need to cast 20 feet past the target. You need to let it slow sink. And with these finesse baits, it's almost mandatory. You could probably get away with it with a casting rod, but because you're letting this thing free fall, you want to cast it out when it hits the water. You want to leave the bell open and just pull off line, and you're going to watch it fall, and then as it takes up the line that it's pulled off, you want to pull off line again on that open bell, and then when you get it to the depth that you want by counting it down in your head, you flip your bell over. I like to put my rod tip in the water, okay? When I put my rod tip in the water, I'm slow reeling it. It's keeping that line from coming up and pulling the bait. And I just keep that rod tip upside down, slow reel it. And here's the thing about it though. When they hit this thing, they don't mess around.
No.
It's not a subtle take. And these hooks on these, especially on these duos, are just, they're just sticky. Look at this. It's just sticky. I mean, so if they breathe, I mean, that's not, they're just so sticky. You know what I mean? Like if they breathe on that thing, look, they're hooked. It is so deadly. The problem I've found with them so far is if you fish this technique, you better have some needle nose pliers with you.
Yep.
You better have some needle nose pliers with you, because when they overrun this thing and you're fishing it on a little bit of a slack line, right? You're not exactly direct contact like he was talking about. You're not burning it. When they hit it, they inhale it. You know, that's the only problem, if you want to call it that. But man, I'm going to just tell you, when it comes to fishing ultra finesse fish, when it comes to fishing clear water, so far, this has been one of those catch 'em where I would have left those fish alone and come back at night with a Colorado blade or a deep diving crankbait, or, you know, a swim bait, a ball head jig, you know, swim bait or something that I could get away with a little bit more at night. I've been able to use this during the daytime, and then I don't know why the light bulb didn't go off, but actually don't know why I haven't done it at night, because it would work just as well at night. But during the day, this thing is heavy, it's compact, depth control is phenomenal. And it's just a little bit of everything. It's profile, it's belly roll, it's shimmer, and it's a little bit of vibration and flash. And what's your experience with it so far, man? Have you had much opportunity to fish it?
Yeah, it's lights out almost. It just depends, like you said. If you're fishing in a spot where you spook them and you come back and you just cast out a little past where they're at and they're suspended.
You know, and it's not something you can do in a tournament because you're not allowed to use 2 rods, but something that I started doing. You know, this is going to sound gimmicky, and I don't have any relationship with any spy-bait company. But here's the thing. The first 2 or 3 times I threw it out, I caught a fish. Like the first 2 or 3 casts. Not hard to build your confidence in a pattern when you catch something on it like the first 2 or 3 casts. Now, granted, I'd found the fish, knew where they were, knew what depth they were. We were coming on the upswing of the feeding time. The vector tables were starting to show the upswing, so they're about to start feeding anyway. Threw it out there, let it fall down through the school, was bumping it along, and I actually think I bumped a fish, and I spooked it or scattered it, and what happened is it created a situation where the other fish in the school reacted, you know, fish on. Well, every time I brought the fish in, there was another fish or 2 fish with it. So what I started doing is taking a fluke and hanging it over the front of the boat on a slack line. I'd bring the first fish in on the spybait. I'd get it up close to the boat. I'd take that other rod, throw the fluke out, or I'd scoop it into my Yak Attack leverage landing net, put it under my leg, and then throw the fluke out and let the fluke fall right off the nose of the boat and then hook that second fish. Granted, you can only fish 1 rod at a time in a tournament, but man, if you're just fun fishing and you catch a fish on a spybait, have a fluke as a throwback lure ready to go, because when it comes to the boat, another fish is coming with it. Because remember, you're fishing for suspended schooling fish. And so when you catch one, another one's coming. So have that bait ready. And something else that I can tell you is it's an activation bait. You catch one on a spy rig, the next thing you can do is go back through that school with an umbrella rig, an Alabama rig, you know what I mean, a small compact light wire spinner bait, and then they're ready. They're fired up. So look, this is not the end-all be-all to spybait fishing, and we're going to do some videos this year both together and separately talking about this concept, but I haven't really been that excited about a finesse presentation because it's a little bit of a power finesse, so it's kind of up my wheelhouse. But I'm glad that you know, Brandon brought these smaller ones to my attention. I've had a lot of success with the bigger ones, and I can only imagine that, especially for spooky fish in clear water, that these smaller 80 size are just going to be a game changer. So anyway, guys, leave a comment in the comment section below. Tell us what you think about spybait fishing. If you've got any experience with it, leave us some comments in the comment section below, because I'm all about upping my game. So y'all help me help you by giving me some pointers on how to better fish spybaits. We'll see y'all in the next video.